Good morning, guys. We're gonna be talking about teaching a CDL driver's commercial driver license class. Um, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to stop me and ask me. In case we have a active shooter, the protocol is to find concealment, get under the table, uh, lock the door, do not open the door until the building has been fully clear. Um, as far as the restrooms, out the hallway, at the end of the hallway on the right side, there's male and female bathrooms. So if you need to get up and use the facilities, just do so quietly. Uh, we're gonna be issuing breaks at the top of the hour, uh, about 0950, 1050, and so on. It's possibly gonna be 10 minutes. If anyone needs to, has a special needs and have to take care of something, just get up and do so quietly and step out, handle your business, whether it's a bathroom break, drink water, uh, or use a telephone, emergency phone call and whatnot. I just want, if you're going to be in class, just I would love to have 100% of your attention at all times. If you feel sleepy, you might be more than welcome to get up, stand in the back of the class. That's completely fine. Um, Again, if you need to go out, get some coffee during the class, just again do so quietly. Get up and take care of your business. Try not to disrupt the rest of the students that are in class. Um, as far as myself, I've been a commercial driver for about 7 or 8 years. I got it. Didn't want to get it. However, the business I was involved in required me to operate a track and trailer, which it was not over 2,600 pounds combined, but it was at times, depending on the cargo that I added uh, into the track and the trailer. Sometimes it was over 2,600 pounds, and I happened to unfortunately get pulled over by DOT while being just above 26,000 pounds with deviates from the regular Class C driver license, which is what you have and everyone gets when you get a brand new license. A provisional license, you get a C class, which allows you to drive anything that's not combination under 2,600 pounds. If it's 2601, then you are required to have a C commercial driver license that allows you to drive. There's a different types of those licenses, and we're gonna go over that throughout this class. But I was required, just going back to my background as a commercial driver, I was required to get that because I was engaging on operations of driving a tractor and a trailer. Tractor being a pickup, could be a F350, F250, any pickup that you can think of that's over 10,000 pounds, that's pulling a trailer, is considered combined combination vehicle. So once you have a combination vehicle over 2,601 pound, which is GVR and GVWR, there's two different scenarios, two different terms that you need to be familiar as a commercial driver, as a student, prospect driver, operators of a commercial vehicle. There's a few things that you need to understand. We're going to talk about getting the license, getting the permits. We're going to talk about the medical card. We're going to talk about the e-log, which is a requirement now. Before we're going to get more deep in depth, but you're required to keep a log of your hours when you're on duty, and you have to. They're required by DOT, which is Department of Transportation, that oversees operation of tractor and trailer operators, or commercial drivers in general. There's also a requirement of the medical card that you have to do once a year or twice a year, depending on how healthy you are. We're going to talk about that as well. We're going to be talking about the pre-trip inspection, which most of the guys that are in the fire department are pretty familiar. When you come in as a driver operators, you have to check your truck out. As a commercial driver, you're supposed to do the same. You have to do the same. You have to do your walk around, they call it, and we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the distance that are required for you to be able to log actively your trip on the e-log. There's a distance requirement. We're going to mention that. We also going to be answering some questions, in the top of the hour. If anyone, before we go out on break, I'm going to go around the room, and if anyone needs any clarification as to what we are speaking about, then at that point, I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions, and I'll be more than happy to get answers. If I don't know the correct answers of your questions at that point, I will make sure I do a quick research and get your answers as accurate as I can, understanding that there's a lot of information and a lot of questions that I might not be able to answer right away. So for starters, we're gonna go around the class. There's 20 of you here. I'm gonna start in the far right. We're gonna go take turns. I want everyone to get up and say your name, where you come, where you're from, and what motivates you to get a commercial driver license, and what is your expectations from this class. If you would like to do so, I'll appreciate, again, just introduce yourself, and just so we can know your name. And again, it's going to be a long class. It's going to be maybe about a 6 months class. So we're going to be here together for a long time. So we're going to, take care of the introducing each other. Let's do that now. Again, my name is Daniel. My phone number, email, and it's on the wall. If you have any questions, be more than welcome to shoot me a text or an email, or if you want to call me, I don't mind. If I'm not able to answer, I will get you a text or a reply as soon as I'm able to. So most times I'm away from my phone, but I'll be able to get back to you as soon as I see it. I don't, you can call anytime. It doesn't matter. If you have a question or if something happened that you cannot make the class, that would be great. So start on the right side and just go everyone introduce themselves, and I will appreciate that. I'm sure everyone else will. Okay, great. Well, going to being able to get a driver license, the first thing everyone has to have is proper identification to take to Maryland Motor Vehicles. For the state of Maryland, you have to have a passport, or you have to have a state ID. You have to have a medical card. So people go to those next day or walking emergency places like Concentra. They pay $89. You pay about 89 or 90 bucks, like I said. They will check you out, make sure you are able to see, able to hear, and able to meet the minimum DOT standards for a commercial driver. So you might not think it's a physical job. It is a very physical job. You have to be able to hear, and you have to be able to pass your sight. You need to be. I think there's a restriction on colorblind because you have to identify hazmats. And if those of you that are familiar with hazmats, they're color coded, and if you're colorblind, of course, you're not going to be able to identify at a distance what's on that cargo. So you can, I believe, almost 100% that you cannot be color blinded. So they do a color test. They have you read those numbers. They check your hearing. They check They check your hearing. They check your how you're able to squat, and they check physically to make sure that you don't have an ongoing condition that prevents you from falling asleep behind the wheel. They check your blood sugar, and if you have a condition that does not prevent you from being able to drive, that only they you have to be if you have a condition, you have to be under treatment. You have to most likely get a doctor's note saying that your condition is being handled, and you have to be able to provide proof. And a lot of times, because I had drivers in the business that I operate, I had drivers that had renal illness, they had diabetes, they had physical disabilities, and all they had to do was get a note from the doctor to the DOT medical provider that's going to sign off on your card. And instead of getting you a 2 years, which every healthy person gets a 2 years, they probably want to see you every year, so they'll give you a year out. Once the DOT stops you, if they see you have a year card, most likely they'll know you have a medical condition. They'll possibly ask you just for safety to make sure that you've been taking care of that issue. Understanding that there's a lot of privacies that go into play with medical conditions, they have the right to ask you on a simple level 1 inspections, which is they can pull you over driving a commercial vehicle. They can pull you over for any reason or for no reason. They can pull you over and just say, hey, how are you today? We're pulling you up. We're pulling you over to the side because we want to perform a class 1 safety inspection, which they have the right to do, and they don't have a reason to pull you over as a commercial driver. As a commercial driver, you can get pulled over 5 times in the same day for a class 1 inspection, and it's completely normal. There's no discrimination about it. There's not any requirements for them to be able to pull you over just by you being able to drive, by you driving a vehicle that's over 10,000 pounds, that has a DOT signs, and MC. If you're carrying cargo vehicles or motor carrier, it'll have like an MC number. If you have an MC number on the side, or if you have a DOT number, you can get pulled over for no reason. So the cop will ask you once, after verifying your medical card, most likely every time they pull you over, they'll ask you for your driver license, they will ask you for your medical card, insurance, and if you have any cargo manifest, they'll ask for that too. They'll want to see the e-log, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, and they're gonna go through the whole truck, top and bottom, and perform a inspection that we're going to talk about more in depth here in a minute. So once you're certified and you have the medical, and again you have your ID, your Class C license, and you have to be a U.S. citizen. You cannot be a resident. Is there anyone in this classroom that's not a U.S. citizen? Because of a lot of restrictions going into play with the hazmat, I guess they don't want non-citizens being able to cargo, 80,000 pounds worth of gasoline or hydrocarbons, whatever hazmats might be. They require you to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be a citizen. If there's anyone that's not a citizen, after class or between breaks, if you're gonna come and talk to me, I know you're not gonna. You can still take the class, have it, but the state will not get you licensed if you're not a U.S. citizen. You don't have to say it now. Just meet me after class and we can talk. And if you want to continue the class, fine, but we will not be able to let you drive or get you certified. You can take this portion just so you can learn about it. So when you become a citizen, if you want to do the class, you already have background and you have a lot of the knowledge. Of course, if everyone is a citizen, then forget everything I said about that. Within that license, once you get past this class and you go through the requirements of, you have to drive for about 6 months. You have to take a lot of practicals, and my instructor has to sign off on your book saying that you completed the whole probation or your learner's time with a certified certified driver. A CDL license holder has to be with you at all times when you drive the vehicle. You have to get that book signed off. You have to have your medical. You have to have your Class C in order to go test for your practicals. You have to take that road test, which consists of about 5 different stations that you have to do. You have to back up, you have to drive around, you have to do a K-turn, you have to do a bunch of things, and you have to come out of it, all of it, successfully. If you fail one, you have to retest the whole thing. So as far as that goes, once, like I said, you have everything, you can go in and get you're not gonna get you're not gonna get like a provisional commercial driver license. You will get a fully commercial driver license day one. Once you pass everything, you complete the class, and again you get done through the driving lessons with your instructor. Every time you drive, you will get it. Once you pass the written portion, they're going to issue you the learner's permit. That does not allow you to drive a commercial vehicle. You can still continue to drive anything under Class A, which is A will be tractor and trailer. So a vehicle that's has a tractor and it has a trailer. So that's a Class A. If it's a straight truck, that would be a Class B. You're not able to drive that with a learner's permit. You can drive any Class C, which is by definition any vehicles that are under 26,000 pounds that is not combined. And if it's combined, it cannot exceed 2,600 pounds. If it goes 26.1, you are required to have a Class A license, so you're not able to drive with a CDL learner's permit. If you go out driving your tractor and your trailer without a proper license, you will get citations issued to you, and you will have to stand before of a judge and explain why. And I can let you know that those citations are not cheap. They'll go by the weight. If you're driving a 28,000 pound, it might be your personal truck with 2 vehicles just coming out of a car auction that you bought. You went to Copart and decided to buy 2 vehicles and rent a tractor because your truck had a 5th wheel, and you had the greatest idea of not paying towing, and you wanted to go and tow these vehicles and not pay freight. It's completely fine until you get pulled over. They're gonna get you, one, by not having the proper license. They're gonna get you for anything that's required as per a CDL driver to have that you don't have. Those being the medical license, the medical card which the doctors issued to you, like I explained earlier. Those being the proper insurance. Every truck has to have $1 million insurance to be able to operate on state and federal roads. You're required to, as FSMCA, which is federal FSMCA, Federal Safety Motor Carrier. By definition, I forget what this stands for, but the feds are the FSMCA, which is Federal Safety Motor Carrier Administration, I believe it is. But this DOT, which, like I said, can pull you over for any reason. They will get you for the weight. They will get you for anything that you're over 2,000 pounds. They'll cite you, I think it's like $500 every 500 pounds or something like that. They'll get you for anything, for not having the medical card, again, for not having proper insurance, for not having extinguishers in the truck, for not having triangles, for not having a pre-trip, e-log. Everything that's required, you're going to be cited for, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a big book of charges. It's going to be a few citations, and you're going to have to possibly contest and explain to the judge why was you breaking the law by carrying something over 2,600 pounds without a proper license. If anybody here has served the military, and you was a driver, operator of a commercial vehicle, anything that's over 26,000 pounds is yet considered military equipment, but civilly is considered commercial driving. So if you had a military license and you have discharged out of the military and you're a transitioning member back to the civilian world, you can get reciprocity for your commercial, for your military driver license into a civilian driver license by a way of reciprocity. You don't need a lot of paperwork. If that applies to anyone here, all you have to do is get a form by the Maryland Motor Vehicles or your whatever state you come from. I'm assuming that everyone is here is trying to get Maryland commercial driver license. But again, if you if you did serve the military and you was a driver, Model T driver or a heavy equipment operator, you can bring your licenses and the endorsements, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and get reciprocity for the military license within a year of being discharged. And if you're still serving, that license could be transferred over along with the endorsements, which is in the back of your license. If you look at it, you'll have two things. One would be endorsements and another one would be restrictions. Per se, if you wear glasses, you will have a restriction. If you was caught on a DUI, which leads me to my next point. We're going to talk about DUIs here in a minute. So the back of the license would have a endorsement and restrictions. If you wear glasses, you're gonna, and that restriction part of your license is gonna have in detailed what that restriction is. Is it glasses? Is it was he a DUI? Did he had a prior DUI? He needs a blow on the car, one of those equipment that you have to blow before you start your car. It's gonna have the spelling, the written portion of that restriction, and the front of the license is gonna have an initial of that restriction. It'll say RST or something like that. It'll say, and it'll have some initials, either whether glasses again or whatever restriction you might have. If you're colorblinded, again, on a regular license, you'll have that. That's on every license. You're going to have the restriction on the front. The cop will flip the license, look at that restriction, and if you're supposed to have glasses and you don't have it, guess what? You cannot drive. Endorsements will be, like I was saying, I was talking about the reciprocity of changing the license. The endorsements are like the hazmat. You have to have a special training to be able to drive a hazmat cargo into... even as a commercial driver, you have to take a separate class. You have to test for it. And I believe there's a portion of practical that you have to do for the state. For the feds, there's a license you have to renew every 2 or 3 years. I believe it is. It's very, you have to keep up with that license. You have to do what we call con-eds on the fire service. You have to do continuing education. So you have to do refreshers every 2 years. Otherwise, that class will fall. Another thing, before I get to the DUI that I wanted to talk to you guys about, you have to be able to keep a medical card active at all times. When you do that medical card every year, you have to take it to Maryland Motor Vehicles or whatever jurisdiction you're going to be at. They're going to want to see a copy of your medical card, because they'll send you 30 days before your medical card expires. They will send you a notice of suspension or intent of suspension, that because of your medical card being ready to expire, guess what? As a commercial driver without a medical card, you don't have a license. If that medical card expires, you cannot go back and say, oh, I'm gonna drive a Class C, I'm not gonna do CDLs. Doesn't work that way. Your license will be suspended the day of expiration. Once your medical card expires, your license expires. It doesn't matter if your license is good for 10 years. Once your medical card expired, and they have in record, they have a department just for that. It's called, I believe it's CDL compliance. So any suspension requests, any medical expiration or renewals, once you get your medical, you have to take it to MVA. They'll put it on record. You still have to carry it, because that's only for the purposes of the state of Maryland. Even if you get pulled over and Maryland knows your license is good and you're supposed to have a medical card, when DOT Class 1, Class 2, or whatever inspection you'll get, pull you over, guess what? They're going to ask you for that, and if you don't have it, cannot drive. You're gonna have a citation, or why you don't have a medical card, because guess what? You might have a license and you might have a medical restriction on your medical card, but that might not reflect on the actual driver license. That's why you have to carry both together, and if not, you cannot drive. It's plain and simple. Going back, like I said, I was going to mention about the DUIs. I'm hoping that no one here has a DUI, and if you do, it's fine. It's not fine. I'm sure you put yourself in danger. You put other people in danger. A lot of people lost their lives due to DUIs, and we all know backstories of someone that you loved, or you knew, or you heard that they lost a loved one to a DUI. We're not gonna hold it against you if people make mistakes. As a commercial driver, I'm gonna go right to the point. As a commercial driver, if you had a DUI, you made one time mistake. You put it behind you, hopefully, and you're staying away from drinking and driving, especially as a commercial driver. It doesn't matter where you're driving. If you're a commercial driver, you have one DUI, you are not fine, because no one wants to give you a job, but they will after about 7 or 8 years, possibly 10 years after that DUI. But if you get a second one, guess what? Your license is gone. You're not going to be able to get a driver license in any way, anywhere in the continental United States. So if you got a second DUI, your abilities to obtain a commercial driver, or to keep if you already have it, is going out the window. So might as well just say goodbye. I'm gonna drink. I'm not gonna work as a driver. I'm a fireman. I would need it for being a tiller driver. If you get caught on a second DUI and you're that tiller driver, say goodbye to your tiller driving job. Maybe you're going back down to being a fireman, unless the department wants to promote you to be a lieutenant or something that you're not required to drive. You are losing your driver license. You're probably losing your driving abilities. You're probably gonna be put on probation or in remedial training, or I don't know what your safety officer will do as a fireman. If you're a fireman, I am a fireman, and if I got myself into that, I know I will lose my abilities to drive, my part-time job that I do, and that it won't be pretty. So if you, just to make a long story short, try to stay away from drinking and driving. Before I get into deep into the class, I needed to let you know that you have to be comfortable on when you're coming in the morning as a commercial driver. And this is just a backstory as to being a CDL driver. I need you to understand a few things, and we're going to touch this up. And later on in the class, we're going to go in depth as to the things that you have to do as a CDL driver. Like I have mentioned before, you come in the morning, check your truck out. That's the first thing you do. Check your equipment, check your triangles, check your vest. You're required to have your manifest. If your truck is loaded, you're supposed to have a weight on that manifest. When you get pulled over onto the weigh stations, there's some weigh stations that you see on the interstate everywhere. You are going to be required to stop. There's going to be an open or close sign up on top of the weigh station. You're going to have to follow the directions. Is it open? I got to go in. Is it closed? I drive past it. As a commercial driver, you don't want to be the guy that gets pulled over because you didn't enter on that weigh station. All they do is have you drive the truck. You'll have arrows telling you whether you go back to 95 or 70 or whatever you're at. And the whole it's the same system throughout the whole United States. You have to enter the weight. They'll put you through the weight. After you pass the weight, they'll either send you an arrow, go to the inspection station. So you'll have to exit out the road and go in the back of the weigh station, or you can go back to 95, depending on where the arrows will point you to go. When you get pulled over to the weigh station, the officer will come to you. They'll say, "I'm here for a class 1 or class 2, or we're going to do a whatever class they want to do on you." Those being class 1, they're only going to check the truck, simple stuff. The more they look, the more they find. The more they find, the more they keep looking. So that can become a level two, where they're gonna put the truck under something. I mean, on top of on top of like a canopy. On that canopy, they have like some steps that they can go down and look at the truck under. So two or three guys will get on it, look at the rotors. They look at any leakage, anything that might be a safety issue. Will be looked at. It potentially become a bigger issue, potentially become citation, potentially become a way for them to put the truck out of service. Okay, so back to my initial point. When you're coming in the morning, you check your truck out. You kick every tire. You check your truck out. You check the steering system. You would check the alignment as much as you can. Just center the steering wheel. You do a quick test drive. Make sure it's center. You check your suspension. Make sure your air hoses are connected. Your air brakes are good. Make sure there's no leakage. Make sure your springs are not broken. Believe it or not, you're allowed to have on one spring you can have 2 cracks. Believe it or not, and it's still fine. If you have 3 cracks, your truck is out of service. So in a commercial vehicle, you have those springs that go outside of the struts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with vehicles.